Good morning, dear students. Today we are starting with the second part of the chapter Respiratory System, which I had already explained. Right? We had already started with the first part of the chapter and we had learned about what is respiration, what are the organs which make up the respiratory system, and how breathing occurs. That is, how do we breathe in and how do we breathe out. I hope you all remember, but we are going to have a quick recap of what we have learned in our last class. So, we have first learned about respiration. What was respiration? The breathing in and the breathing in of oxygen and giving out of carbon dioxide from the body was called as respiration, is known as respiration. This process is also known as breathing. And when we breathe in, that is the air that we take in is oxygen, and this process, the breathing in of air, the taking in of air is known as inhalation. That is, we inhale the air, and after the oxygen is used up by our body, we breathe out carbon dioxide, and this process was called as exhalation. That is, we exhale the air. And what makes up breathing? Inhaling and exhaling together forms our breathing. Right? So today we are going to learn more about breathing. First of all, there is a small activity for you. What are you going to do is, you are first going to put your hand on your chest, okay, just above your heart or towards your left side. Just put your hand on your chest towards your left side. You will be able to feel your breath, okay, your heartbeat. You will be able to feel your heartbeat. Now, after you have felt that, now what I want you to do is, I want you to get up, stand up and jump. Start jumping for 3 minutes. Keep on jumping for 3 minutes. Jump, children, jump faster. Now, you see, children, after you have jumped for 3 minutes, if again you put your hand on the left hand side, you will be able to feel that your heartbeat has become faster. Now, this is a very simple thing that when we exercise, when we run, walk or perform any kind of exercises, whenever we play outdoor games, that is when our body goes through any physical activity, heavier physical activity, then what happens? Our heartbeat increases. Now, this is known as the breathing rate. Breathing rate is what? Breathing rate is the number of breaths a person takes, a number of breath, that is the number of times a person takes in the air, that is the number of times a person breathes in and breathes out in 1 minute. This is known as the breathing rate. Okay? And whenever we have any physical exercise, this breathing rate increases. That means the number of times we are taking in and giving out the air in 1 minute increases after we have gone through a physical activity. Now, the oxygen is important. When we breathe in, we take in oxygen. Now, oxygen is very, very necessary for helping us to do the physical activities like running, playing, jumping and all this kind of things. In our last chapter, in the first chapter, we have learned about muscular system, where I had told you, I had been explaining that how the warm up is necessary, and there we have also talked about that when we warm up, we prepare our body to send in the oxygen to the muscles so that we do not suffer from any muscle injury when we are having when we do any physical exercise or we have any intense game, that is we are running, playing, jumping, this kind of games if we are playing, we need to warm up before that. So this is just what we were talking about in chapter 1. That is, we need oxygen. When the oxygen reaches to the muscles, it prepares our body to play, to have intense workout, intense exercises, and does not and prevents our muscles from any kind of injury. Now, when we are having and when we are doing any activity, what happens is our breathing also increases, because the amount when we do any exercise, our muscles, our body needs more oxygen, and to take up more oxygen we start breathing faster. To take up more oxygen we start breathing faster. Okay, so the faster we move, the faster we breathe. Also, what happens is then generally adults breathe up till about 18 times in 1 minute, and children breathe even faster. Okay, so also many times what happens is this blowing of air. Whenever we try to have something warm, what do? We first blow air into it, and then very slowly we start having that food. Even if you are having warm milk or having some generally milk is had warm, so or tea or coffee, then what happens? We blow air into it so that it cools down, and blowing air into it makes it cool faster. Now why does that happen? That happens because the food item is very warm, and in comparison to the food, our breath is colder. Okay, so when we blow the air from our mouth, the food also becomes cold. The food also becomes cold. It cools down faster because our breath is cooler than the food. Okay, so this is how blowing air into warm food helps to get it cool down faster. Similarly, if we blow our air into let's say something which is colder, then what will happen? If our breath is blown into something which is comparatively colder than our breaths, then what will happen is that substance will become warmer. So that is why when we eat an ice cream or when we are drinking juices, do we blow air into it? No, we don't, because if we do so, the food will become warmer, and obviously we won't enjoy having a molten ice cream, right? So also you see, for blowing for fire also we need oxygen, we need air. Basically we need oxygen to burn the fire, and to give it that momentum, air is very very necessary. That is why many times it is seen, and in olden days where there were no gas cylinders and proper urban cookers to cook the item, they used to cook in chula. Okay, chulas are generally made of sand. So they used to make chulas, and in the chulas, how they used to cook? They used to cook by burning dried leaves and wood. So every time the fire was seen to get low, what the women used to do, or the people around used to do, they used to blow air into the fire. And because of the presence of air, when we are blowing air into the fire used to grow big again, and that would make the cooking process faster. Now let us learn some amazing facts about breathing, okay, and about our body. Now the normal breath rate, you see, the normal breathing rate of a person is 10 to 12 times per minute. Okay, that is, we breathe almost, when we are in a normal position, we are not doing any we have not done any physical activity, and we are not having any increased breath rate, in our normal position, we generally breathe for 10 to 12 times every minute. Okay, and this is on an average. This is the average breathing rate. Normal breathing rate is 10 to 12 times per minute. Also, one more important thing is, for our body, we can live up to 3 weeks without having any kind of food. We can just have water and we can easily live for 3 weeks. We don't need to have any food. And also we can live without even water. For 1 week you can live without food and without water. Even if you don't take water, you can still be alive. But what will happen if you do not take up oxygen, if you do not breathe in for 3 to 4 minutes? Forget 3 to 4 minutes. Let's just try doing it for 1 minute now. What are you going to do? Close your mouth and close your nose with the fingers like this. After some time we feel suffocated, right? And that makes us open our mouth to take in the air. So we can just live hardly for 3 to 4 minutes only without breathing in. That is without oxygen. If we do not start breathing immediately, what will happen? We will have to get help from doctors, or we might even have to say bye-bye to the world. Now, I'm sure you all must have seen doctors whenever you feel you fall ill. You go to the doctor's chamber and the doctors use a stethoscope, right? The end, they are having a earphone kind of thing which they put it in their ear, and one small flat surface, a circular flat surface which is connected to the earbuds through a pipe, and they put that flat circular surface on your body, on your chest maybe, and then they analyze, right? They always do that. They put it on your body and they wait for some time. They place it in one position, they wait for some few seconds, and then they move on to the next position this way, and then they finally can easily tell you that what is wrong, what is the problem, and on the basis of that they give you the medicines as well. Now, what is that? That is a stethoscope. Okay, and what does the stethoscope do? It helps in hearing the earbuds that they're having, and I'm sure you have generally seen that the stethoscopes they put near the chest and the stomach, right? So why it is done so? Because the stethoscope is used to hear the sound of the heartbeats and the breathing. It is put near our chest, near our heart, and near the diaphragm to hear the sound of breathing. Now, how does hearing the sound of breathing and the heartbeats help the doctor? Now, you see, when we are well, when our body is normal and we are healthy, we follow the normal breathing process. We follow the normal breathing rate and the normal heartbeat. But when we are not well, then what happens? Our breathing and our heartbeats change. Sometimes it gets faster, sometimes slower. So when they hear to the heartbeats and the breathing, then they can easily find out that if we are unwell, and if we are unwell, then what can help us get back well. Now, you see, this is a very fun kind of sickness that many people have when they move up to higher altitudes, that is when they travel in hilly areas or mountain regions, they have breathing problem. Some have breathing problems when they go to the hilly areas, and they start taking deep breaths. Okay, this kind of sickness is known as altitude sickness. Now, due to the low levels of oxygen at higher altitude, that is in mountain regions, the amount of oxygen present in the air is less. So it is very natural for people to feel that they are not getting enough oxygen inside them. They are not able to take in enough oxygen, and that is why they start breathing deeply so that they can take in enough oxygen to help them from any kind of, to keep them healthy and prevented from any kind of disease. Now some of the symptoms of altitude sickness are, some people when they start traveling on the higher altitude, they are having headache, they get tiredness, they also feel vomiting, they feel dizziness. What is dizziness? That is, they feel they don't feel energetic, they feel sleepy, and also not very they don't feel well, and they have this tendency of vomiting and sleep disturbance. That is, they cannot have proper sleep. Okay, so this is a very common kind of sickness where generally we do not acknowledge. We just say that okay, I have difficulty traveling in mountain regions. This difficulty of traveling in the hilly regions, hilly areas, is known as what? Is known as altitude sickness. So children, with this we come to the end of this chapter, and I hope you all have understood very well. I request you to go through the chapter 2 to 3 times and also the videos to have a proper and clear understanding. In my next class, we will be discussing the notes for the respiratory system, and also we will try and start with the workbook. Thank you children, and have a great day.